G'day guys and gal. Whenever I do a brainstorming session for video ideas, the first thing I think of is, can I make a Custodes video today? And after expanding my Custodes painting project, I realized, yes, I can. The Shadowkeepers are as awesome as they are mysterious, an elite order of custodians with arguably the most badass color scheme in the entire setting. These wardens keep the eldritch horrors, galaxy-destroying superweapons, and entities beyond our comprehension locked away under the Imperial Palace within the Dark Cells. Things that even the Emperor cannot, or will not, destroy. Managing that is these guys' jobs. Hell yeah. Before we get started, you're probably doing a lot of online browsing right now, looking for Christmas gifts to give your family and girlfriends. Yeah, right. But did you know that this browsing comes with a risk to your internet security, as well as a high chance you're being ripped off and discriminated on based on your location? Enter Surfshark VPN, an easy-to-use VPN software that can not only ensure you're browsing completely safely and anonymously, but will also make sure you're getting the best prices. It does this by rerouting your IP to another country, meaning you can choose whatever country you want to appear as. It's common for websites to have hidden currency or geo fees that make you end up paying like over 10% more than you normally should. Surfshark VPN can help with that. On top of that, VPNs allow you to access significantly better streaming service libraries by bypassing shitty licensing deals. That's my primary use for it, as Australia always seems to get shafted in this department. So to get the best prices, browse safely, and explode your Netflix library, then use my linking code Majorkill below. This will give you a massive 85% off and 3 months free. And if for some strange reason Surfshark doesn't tickle your pickle, then they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Cheers to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Also, if you think this hat is cute, want some Majorkill game dice that won't cost an arm or a leg, need a new desk mat, or are just keen for a bunch of more fun little items, then my Christmas merch drop is going live this Friday. So be sure to chuck your email in to make sure you're notified and get access to the merch before everyone else. Stock will be very limited as always. Today we'll go over the lore of the Shadowkeepers, their origins, what makes them different from other custodians, and what exactly is in the Dark Cells that they are sworn to protect, or keep imprisoned. Let's get into it. To understand their origins, we need to understand why the Shadowkeepers, also called the Wardens of Rhython, were created. The Imperium was built on the ashes of a significantly greater human empire. An empire where mankind went full send and scienced this bitch to infinity. While the Age of Strife was an age of enlightenment, the Men of Iron Uprising caused a lot of brilliant scientists to invest their time and energy into creating ruthless genocidal weapons of war in an attempt to save mankind. And save mankind they did. Those fuckhead ingrate robots got sodomized and mankind was saved. However, mankind was now bitter, mistrusting, and had a bunch of war-crimey superweapons laying around, which they promptly used to fuck themselves in the ass, plunging numerous worlds into nuclear holocaust and other fun little apocalypse situations. Even Earth itself wasn't spared. Rival factions bombed the shit out of each other, or unleashed legions of augmented killing machines that destroyed everything in their path. In a few thousand years, even mankind's birth world, the center of its empire, had gone from the technological peak of the galaxy to an irradiated wasteland, with most of its oceans boiled away. To say shit had gone Mad Max would be a very accurate statement. When the Emperor began unifying Earth with his girth and talent for genetically modifying super soldiers, many of these horrific weapons from this previous era were uncovered, and many more were used against him. The unification wars were very difficult for the Emperor, as a lot of his rivals had these super weapons. As the Emperor achieved more and more dominance, he began to collect quite a big stash of these no-no toys. However, the man was a scientist and studied these items in detail. His lack of concern for how devastating or corrupted they might be is actually what turned a few of his closest allies away from him. Alanus Pius even stabbed the Emperor for refusing to destroy an ancient evil collection of knowledge. It's likely the Emperor's study of these weapons and dangerous artifacts is what allowed him to build things that often were more impressive than the best the Mechanicus had to offer. For example, custodian war gear. Some items were deemed too unstable and were destroyed, but most were locked away. The Emperor either unable, or more likely, unwilling to destroy pieces of the past or items he wished to study further. The Emperor also knew that if these items were to fall into the wrong hands, then he would be royally fucked. So the Emperor chose 100 of his most steadfast, reliable, and mentally strong custodians to become the sole guardians of these forbidden items, locking them in a vault under the Imperial Palace. This vault isn't just one of those big bank ones that Tom Cruise could crack into. It's sealed by runes, rules, technology, magic, wards, and all other fictional shit that people lock stuff away with. It's got 1,000,001 failsafes, with the only people who know how to unlock it being the Shadowkeepers and the Emperor himself, such as the trust that he places in these custodians. The reason he chose some of his most elite for this role isn't just because they might have a better chance of winning if Cthulhu slips his chains, but also because the mental power required to patrol such a cursed and dark area for decades at a time takes a massive amount of mental fortitude. Normal people, even space marines, would go insane in the dark cells, but the Shadowkeepers just kind of suck it up and do their duty. Now the sad part is that no one really gets to see these guys' badass color scheme, as they almost never leave the dark cells in the 10 millennia that they've been guarding it, except for a few very rare occasions. One such occasion was during the burning of Prospero, where the Emperor sent an army of custodians with Lehman to give legitimacy to his command to bring Magnus to heel, and if necessary, help him crush the Thousand Sons if they resisted. Although the leader of the Custodes, Valdor, held his forces back, once he saw that the Thousand Sons were going insano style with forbidden warp sorcery, he joined the battle, with the Shadowkeepers joining as well. They played a key part in the climax of the battle, holding the line against a psychic onslaught and decimating the Thousand Sons. After all, what is a couple magic boys compared to their daily job of keeping the galaxy's worst horrors locked up? Another trip out of Earth the Shadowkeepers made was when a Space Hulk drifted into the solar system. The Lock Warden, leader of the Shadowkeepers, led his best warriors on board, killing whatever they found, took whatever cool forbidden things they encountered, then blew up the Space Hulk. The notable thing about this event is that the mortal High Lords wanted to plunder the Hulk or just destroy it outright. However, the Captain General of the Custodes overruled them, letting the Shadowkeepers do their thing before providing absolutely no report to anyone outside the Shield Host. People often ask, who has more authority, the Inquisition or the Custodes? Well, I feel like this example makes that pretty clear. The Black Cells are rarely externally threatened, as next to nobody knows about them and even fewer people know where they are, and even fewer can get through the Shadowkeepers, but that doesn't mean they are totally safe. During the months of madness, where the Sol system was getting all weird, the prisoners within the dark cells started lashing out, attempting to corrupt and control whatever they could. The Shadowkeepers were unaffected, but they had to kill most of their servitors, while their Captain General at the time ended up getting killed, paving the way for Trajan Valoris' ascension to the role. Fortunately, the men in black kept the cages locked. However, when the Great Rift opened and the armies of Khorne landed directly on Terra, the psychic backlash and distraction allowed a number of prisoners and technology to escape or be stolen. Uh-oh. Now this sounds like a big win for the bad guys. However, when you realize that the Shadowkeepers now have the perfect excuse to leave Terra, go wherever they need to, kill whoever they want, bad guys are going to be regretting that choice pretty soon, especially when they find out that the Emperor gave the Shadowkeepers permission to upgrade their weapons with some of the no-no technology that they have been guarding. After all, it takes more than a standard Guardian Spear to kill the kind of shit that is locked away. So what exactly is in the Dark Cells that require such absolute gigachads to stand constant vigil over? Well, it's one of those things that GW has been a bit of a tease about, not really telling us straight up, but there have been a few cool hints and entities we have met. The first one is the Slithering Dreamer, which escaped the Dark Cells but was hunted down and killed by a Shadowkeeper. Not much is known, but I assume it was some kind of psychic snake creature that infiltrated your dreams. That's honestly just a big shot in the dark. The Chalice of Dark Albastar was one of the items stolen during the opening of the Great Rift. A single Shadowkeeper tracked it down and found it in the possession of the Astral Claws Chaos Warband, and without hesitation, the dude just fucking Leroy Jenkins at them. The Astral Claws shit the bed and retreated into the Great Rift, thinking themselves safe. However, they were soon horrified when the Shadowkeeper jumped into the rift straight after them. He hasn't been heard from since, but there's a part of me that thinks he still hunts the Astral Claws and the Chalice to this day. There is also the Soul Delver, a Titsnichian demon who the Shadowkeepers use to train recruits. To become a Shadowkeeper, a Custodian Warden must look into the eyes of the Soul Delver for an entire day without blinking. If they can do that, then they can do anything. Another similar prisoner is the Eight of the Skull, a Khornite demon that a Shadowkeeper recruit must best in combat without the use of their weapons or armor. Continuing these aggressive trials, the Sevenfold Triasma is a Nurglite demon in which Shadowkeeper recruits must breathe in their toxins for 3 hours without complaint. And finally, there is the Granter of all 6 Wishes, a Slaneshi demon in which new Shadowkeeper recruits have to listen to for an entire day without feeling any emotion or being slightly moved. That is quite the fucking process to become a Shadowkeeper, and I hope you can now understand why these guys guys stand above the rest. To even be eligible to join, you need to be a warden, which takes 5 centuries of service to achieve in the first place. Now, to give context to the kind of artifacts that are locked up, the Vexen Cage was a psychic amplifier that more or less allowed you to mind control an entire planet, or drive them all into madness. Not everything in the Dark Cells is inherently evil though. Some things are locked away to avoid political issues, such as the device the Custodians gave to the Imperial Fist to fix the Phalanx and bring it back to complete operational capacity in short order. The device that was used is likely an intact STC, which the Mechanicus would get way too horny for if they knew it existed. The other listed items, such as It That Craves, the Tri-Blight Amulet, One of the Fell, the Black Parapet of Ra Tehinya, all sound cool, and I'm sure they are, but we get literally zero lore or fluff on them, so you'll just have to use your imagination. Most interesting of all though, there is something called Subject 11 that is locked within the Dark Cells, which many believe to be Primarch 11. This kind of makes sense. After all, where else would you lock away one of the lost Primarchs if you didn't want anyone else to know about it? I doubt the Primarch is just sitting in a cell hanging out though. More likely it's his corpse in stasis, or some part of the Primarch that has remained after death. If not, then at least all the juicy lore and artifacts that Primarch once had. It's hard to know, but honestly, a Shadowkeeper novel is well overdue and would be so much fucking fun. Make my day, Black Library, make my fucking day. The Lord of the Shadowkeepers is called the Lock Warden, often a grim, unbreakable warrior who personally leads and oversees all operations performed by the Shadowkeepers. As such, he is rarely at home, constantly imprisoning or reclaiming entities or artifacts which belong in the Dark Cells. Considering how dangerous of a job that is, it's a massive testament to the current Lock Warden, Borsar Thrusk, who has been in the role for around 150 years. What the Grey Knights are to the other Space Marine chapters, the Shadowkeepers are to the other Custode Shield Hosts. Small in number, highly specialized, and the guys you call when shit is going down. I'm actually painting my Alaris as Shadowkeepers, and if this video does well, I'll prioritize making a video for the other Shield Hosts. So make sure you give me a big fat thumbs up. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where there is not only a ton of nude cosplay photos, but also a boatload of Battlemace 40 million hentai. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more shadowy content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.